Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today, Karen demands shopper dress more appropriately. After that, try to steal my kid's stuffed bear? Yeah, I don't think so. And after that, am I the jerk for telling my husband that I'll never invite his family again after he said I embarrassed him with my cooking? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to take someone's stuffed bear. But my kid wants it. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen demands shopper dress more appropriately. This happened this morning between 9 and 10 a.m. I went to the supermarket to grab a few things for lunch and dinner. It's early and slow, so the store only had the self-checkout and one register open. As I got to the register, I see a young woman, early 20s, with a sleeping baby in her arms and a basket with formula, diapers, over-the-counter baby items for rashes, and several prescriptions that were paid for at the pharmacy. The girl gets to the register before me, and then I saw the rampaging Karen come out of the aisle right in front of me. I knew there'd be trouble from the oversized sunglasses, Karen haircut, yoga pants 3 sizes smaller than they should have been, that I'll bet have never seen the inside of a gym or a yoga studio, and the very low-cut top that showed off a lot of skin that no one I knew wanted to see. She has maybe a dozen items in her cart. With the current situation, the clerk, the 20-something-year-old, and I are wearing the required masks. But of course, Karen can't be bothered. The store has markings on the floor for social distancing, but of course, that doesn't apply to the wild Karen. The young mother is holding the sleeping baby and trying to fish her wallet out of her small purse, while also holding the diaper bag and the usual baby accessories. The cashier hasn't even finished ringing the girl up when the wild Karen starts in a loud voice complaining about unprepared shoppers not even having their money ready. Karen's cart is almost touching the 20-something's leg. Naturally, Karen's complaint at full volume had the unfortunate effect of waking the sleeping infant, who registered his displeasure by letting anyone within hearing distance know. The mother was attempting to calm him down and get her wallet out of her purse. The fact that Karen had to wait and now had to listen to the infant she woke up caused another nasty tirade. I'm in line behind Karen at this point, and then she gets on my last nerve. She's been breathing the cashier for not being fast enough, and then God only knows what lack of brain cells caused her to do this, but snaps at the young mother that she should make the brat be quiet, and then decided to tell the girl, while snapping, that if she didn't dress like that, she wouldn't have gotten knocked up, since it was obvious that her jeans were too tight, as was her top. For goodness sake, she had a baby a couple of months before. The young mother was beet red, the cashier was in shock, the infant, not liking the noise, was letting it be known that he wasn't happy, and Karen had gotten on my last nerve, and being old, sick, and in a bad mood, and with worse temper, I let loose. I slipped up past Karen and tossed my card to the cashier and told them the young lady's bill is on me. That got Karen to start again, only for me to loudly say, "Shut up. I'm as tired of your mouth as the little man is." That stunned Karen, who only sputters. The young mother thanked me and gave the infant her full attention. Karen is fuming and starts heaving her items onto the belt, but apparently her mouth recovered before her brain. As soon as the cashier finished ringing her up and asked for payment, Karen turns towards me and sneered, "Well, aren't you going to pay for mine as well?" I was done with her and responded, "No. I don't like people who wake up sleeping infants with their big mouths." She huffed and stormed out. I was hoping for an "I demand to speak to the manager," but you can't have everything. I headed to my car and was pulling out of the parking lot when I saw the young mother sitting at the bus stop holding the infant. Buses out where I live run every hour, so I decided to offer her a ride. Turns out she lived only a couple of miles away, under 5 minutes by car, but a couple of hours on foot carrying a baby and supplies. She took the risk that I could have been crazy since I snapped Karen's tirade. I learned that she and her husband were new to the area, moved here for his job. I asked her about the little man and learned that as her husband got paid, they bought more of the stuff the baby needed, but right now they were making do with what they had. I wrote an address down and told her that if her husband was off Saturday, she should have him bring them to the address for a yard sale with tons of baby stuff my niece was getting rid of, as she had had all the babies she's having and she has everything an infant could need. She told me that she'd do that and thanked me again for everything. I dropped them off and made it home and gave my niece a call describing the girl and infant and telling her to give the couple anything they liked and I'll cover whatever they couldn't afford. I like babies and have no tolerance for Karens. How dare anyone be in front of her or not dress according to your standards? You're nuts. Speaking of groceries, where do you get your groceries from? Please let us know. Walmart all day, bruh. Try to steal my kid's stuffed bear? Yeah, I don't think so. This happened earlier today, and I'm still livid about the whole ordeal. A little background. We have an almost 3-year-old son who always has his stuffed bear, Boo, and a binky with him. We just had our daughter a couple of weeks ago, and I'm currently on paternity leave. I'm unshaven and my clothes are pretty wrinkled. I do not look good. We head to our local Freddie Meyer to do some shopping and give mama a break from an excitable 3-year-old. On our way into the store, my son spots one of those shopping carts that's made up to look like a race car. Well, not grabbing it isn't an option, so we snag it and I dry it off the best I can with a spare blanket as it's been raining all day. My first experience with Entitled Mom took place as we were entering the store itself. "Can I have that? My son really wants it," gesturing to the cart and to her maybe 4 or 5-year-old son. To which I just say, "Sorry, I already told my son he can have it." As she walks away, I clearly hear her mutter something about how my son is much too old to still have a binky. Whatever, it keeps him calm. Almost immediately, he demands to walk instead of ride in the cart. Cool with me. The store is pretty empty and he usually stays pretty close. So we leave Boo in the cart so he doesn't get misplaced and continue shopping. Well, this time he decided not to stay close. Again, as the store is basically empty, so we play a little chase and we end up a couple of aisles away before I catch him. I carry him back to our cart, but when I get to the aisle, the cart is just gone. Okay, I'm running on little sleep and an excessive amount of caffeine. I probably just mistook the aisle. Nope. After walking another couple aisles, we see Entitled Mom and her brat in our cart. Our groceries are mysteriously gone. I'm sure for some minimum wage stalker to find abandoned on a shelf. Immediately, my son starts screaming, "Boo back! Boo stuck!" Took me a second to realize that the brat was holding Boo. I am pretty annoyed about the cart, but it doesn't matter anymore. We are going to have to go home. This tantrum will last for quite some time. So I walk up and reach out for Boo, and Entitled Mom shrieks, "What are you doing?" My son's outburst has already caused quite a commotion, and before I can say anything, a staff of some sort is already here. Staff, is there anything I can help you with? Me, yeah, this woman took my cart, which had my son's toy in it, and I just want the toy back and to get this guy home. Entitled Mom, liar, this is our cart, and I got my brat this teddy for being well behaved. Something he, gestures at my son, could learn something about. Me, lady, that's his favorite toy. Turning to staff, can we just look at the cameras? We need this back, and I don't have the energy to fight about this. At this point, Entitled Mom gets her brat to hand over the toy, and I turn to head out. As I'm walking away, she says something to the tune of, "I'm sorry I gave away your toy, but sometimes it is better to just help those less fortunate than us." I assumed she was trying to save face, and I knew that if I turned around and said anything, it would come out as a yell, which wouldn't help my son's situation. She isn't worth the effort. I've never been this angry in my life. Took a good 45 minutes to calm the little guy down. Am I the jerk for telling my husband that I'll never invite his family again after he said I embarrassed him with my cooking? Title sounds horrible, but hear me out, please. So, I'm 35, female, and my husband, who's 37, male, his family recently moved to our town to live close to us, and my brother-in-law, who got married a few months ago. My in-laws like to gather twice a month for dinner, and they'd have me and my husband visit, 3-hour drive, once a month. My mother-in-law wouldn't accept any excuses that I work and have kids to take care of. She always wants the family gathered at her house. Last week, while we were visiting their new house, my husband made me spend X amount of money for a gift that he didn't help with. Also had me carry boxes to help them move stuff into their house while my brother-in-law's new wife sat on the couch and was served with coffee and sweets. He told them that he wanted to invite them over for dinner the next day, and he didn't even consult with me first, so I had to take the day off so I could prepare meals. I made the main dishes, appetizers, salad, and pound cake. They arrived at 7 p.m. Mother-in-law and brother-in-law's wife didn't move a finger. They were busy criticizing my table setting and giving advice. I put dinner on the table, and my mother-in-law started asking why I used X ingredient instead of this ingredient, saying that she would have liked it. Then said that my salad was not necessary because no one liked this type of salad. My husband just agreed with her, telling me why I didn't do it this way or that way. I was getting mad and lost my appetite. Mother-in-law said the pound cake was not complete and didn't look delicious. My husband told her that he wanted to get one from the bakery, but I didn't allow him. The cake stayed the same while they ate what brother-in-law's wife brought and flattered her. After they left, I told my husband that his mom was being rude and mean to me the whole time, that he should have stopped her instead of agreeing with her. He said that he didn't defend me because I was in the wrong, and what I cooked was not so great, and that I embarrassed him in front of his family after having them try my cooking for the first time. I just got mad at him and told him I will no longer invite his family for dinners, and he didn't like that since he told his mom that we will regularly invite them for dinner. He called me too sensitive and that I should just focus on cooking what they like instead. He thinks I'm overreacting, but I'm so angry and feel like I've been insulted and disrespected in my own house. Well, who do you agree with, OP or her husband? Please let us know. I want to know if there's anything actually good about him. I kind of doubt it, to be honest. Am I the jerk for not letting my ex off the hook on child support so he can afford his new life? My ex-husband had a 4-year-long affair. I only came to learn about this because he got the other woman pregnant. We are now divorced, they are married, and they have a 2-year-old together. Ex and I share an 11 and a 12-year-old. As of last year, I have primary custody because he and his wife and their kid moved 4 hours away, which the courts considered too far to maintain 50-50 timeshare. The business X worked for collapsed due to everything that happened back in April, and X was out of work for several weeks. In that time, he asked me to take him off the hook for child support, which meant no back pay for the weeks, and because I said no, he brought me back to court. All the court did was readjust the amount he owed me because of their lost income. X's wife has since got a job, and he says they're still struggling because neither makes good money. He asked me again to let him off the hook. He said their daughter is suffering because between keeping the roof over their head and paying child support, there isn't much left to provide for her. I told him that's not my problem. My concern will always be our children. He claims if I can afford to provide for them without him for a period of time, it is the right thing to do because his other daughter is their half-sister, and as such, it is my role to make sure she is cared for too. Or at least it should be if I am a good mother and a caring person. I told him the discussion was over and I want the child support for my kids. Am I the jerk? Since everyone's asking, I get less than $300 a month in child support from him. I make enough where I can cover things myself. Some months are a little more rough than others, but I'm not a rich woman. I don't have a fancy house, car, or lavish lifestyle. I am a single mother working hard to provide for my kids. I rarely spend any of the child support. I do everything in my power to put money into my kids' savings, but sometimes when the money comes, especially in winter, I need it for something. I did not make my kids alone. I am not the only person responsible for providing for them. He hasn't seen them since last year and now wants to not provide for them. I pay medical expenses, school supplies, food, clothes, keeping a roof over their head. I buy Christmas and birthday gifts, even from him some years, because if they aren't with them, he sends nothing. I do my darn best to make sure my kids are taken care of. Well, what would you do in this situation? Would you let him off the hook or not? Please let us know. Never let a deadbeat off the hook. Few things disgust me more than one who refuses to provide for their kids. Can I get an amen? Entitled friends have hearts set on a baby shower. My sister is pregnant. Great fun, big belly, the works. After the first wave, they had the gender reveal. It was great. Balloons, cake, didn't light the forest on fire. Somewhere at that time, the idea of a baby shower started and a WhatsApp group was created. Now, a baby shower is where you surprise the mother to be with a little party. I'm explaining this because surprise is the big thing in this story. Baby is due in December. We wanted to do it in November, but this month, the second wave is hitting hard and we are in a semi-lockdown. The lockdown restricts us to having only 3 people over from different households per day. When this was announced, the shower seemed off the table. Sister's mother-in-law was devastated. She's the sweetest woman I know, and she really wanted the shower because it's her first grandchild. So in her sadness, she informed my sister that they tried to do a shower, but with the new rules it wouldn't be possible. Sister understood. This was when the group went berserk. How dare she ruin the surprise? What surprise, you might say? Well, most of the girls wanted the party to go through as planned. I think the rest would be better to be done in chat mode. So we've got entitled friends, we've got me, we've got sister. Entitled friend. I think she really deserves it, especially in these times. Other entitled friend. If she really doesn't want a shower, she would tell somebody that. Me. But how can she tell she doesn't want something if she thinks any other form of shower is off the table? Entitled friend. She just isn't the type to turn down a party. Me. We can do an afterbirth shower when the wave has cooled down.
Nah, we have a date now. If we cancel this, it won't ever happen.
I decided I would be the scapegoat and just call sister to ask what she would want. Me. Dear girls, I do believe you want the best for sister. However, I feel there are too many assumptions made at this point. I called sister and asked how she felt about the shower in the upcoming month. She says that she really does not want a shower. She's limiting her contact with people because she doesn't want to get sick with the baby. Entitled friend.
I'm going over there for dinner on Sunday with my significant other, and another couple is coming as well, so that's 6 people. I don't see why we can't do 10 people.
Side note, I think 6 people from 3 households is not the same as 10 people from 9 households, but I had learned that arguing with these ladies was not going to do any good. Me telling sister they still want to go through, and sister sending me an app to screenshot what she does not want. Me, send the screenshot. Entitled friend.
But what did you say to her?
I only screenshotted her response and WhatsApp image. Me, just ask yourself if you don't believe me. Well, they did. So my sister went on a rant to me that her friends are being extremely selfish and that they should know that if I am her sister, they should just believe me, etc. So that part felt good. In the end, no party. No worries, she's gotten a lot of gifts from mother-in-law, and I gave her 1,000 diapers and 40 packs of baby wipes, so it's not like she's missing out on all the gifts. Am I the jerk for calling a guy stupid after he made assumptions about my family of 19? So, I've seen on other posts this sub isn't a huge fan of big families, so I wouldn't say this would be 100% unbiased, but please be as neutral as you can before you hear the story. Okay, so I'm 16 female, and from a family with 17 kids. Ages 25, 22, 22, 21, 19, 18, 16, 16, 14, 11, 9, 9, 7, 5, 3, 1, 1. But the difference between my family and many other big families is that my parents are amazing. First of all, my mom, 45, who manages people's finances for a living, was able to figure out how to balance books or whatever in order to have any amount of kids while she was pregnant with the oldest. Also, she's able to carve out alone time with everyone, and she's basically a superhero. Well, the other day I was hanging out with my friends, social distance of course, and one girl brought her new boyfriend. He was a bit weird and was kinda acting like he had always been there, and like we were his best friends, even though it was everyone's first time meeting him. But he was nice at first, so I didn't mind. Then I mentioned having 16 siblings. He was like, "Oh, that must suck." I replied that some parents do a bad job, but my parents are pretty good at raising a big family. Then he started making all these weird assumptions to try and convince me to hate my family. Like he would say, "But your parents force you to raise the younger siblings." And he wouldn't even say it like a question. I would reply, "Well, we do babysit, but my parents pay us like they would a babysitter." He was getting mad at me for not hating my family and calling me brainwashed and saying I was in a cult, blah blah blah. After his rant about how my parents don't feed me because I'm so skinny, they do, I just yelled, "Well, I'm very sorry that I love my family and am happy. I'm not going to be depressed and cut off my family just because stupid idiots like you say I should when you meet me for the first time." He started telling me to calm down, even though he had just been yelling at me. Him and his girlfriend left, and the rest of the day was pretty good, and me and the rest of my friend group laughed about it. Well, his girlfriend messaged me and said to apologize for yelling at him. I said he should apologize for yelling at me. She says he shouldn't have to apologize because he was right. This is also more like a friend of a friend. Like, I used to like her, but we would never hang out alone or full-time or whatever. My other friend told me to post it on here. I listened to some of the popular Reddit stories on YouTube, but have never used the site itself. Anyways, am I the jerk? Edit. All the kids under 14 aren't my parents' biological kids. The 14-year-old, one of the 9-year-olds, and the 7-year-old are my aunt's biological kids that my mom adopted. The rest are adopted from foster care. Us older kids are biological though. Am I the jerk for kicking my pregnant niece and her new husband out of my house? This sounds awful, but hear me out. My big sister and I built a house with our income. It's designed so we each have separate living arrangements and such, but we get to live next to each other without bothering the other. So it's like 2 different apartments with a door that connects them. Well, a couple of years ago, I moved to another city, and my side of the house was left unoccupied. My sister's daughter, my niece, called me and asked for permission to move there while she was attending college. I didn't see an issue and told her she could. She didn't pay rent, but made sure to keep the place nice and tidy. This arrangement lasted for about 4 years. A few weeks ago, she announced to the family that she was pregnant and had married her boyfriend. I was a bit shocked by the news. She was fresh out of college and she had barely mentioned her boyfriend, so I'm guessing the baby was unexpected and they decided to get married before having it. But what shocked me the most was going back home to visit and finding out that her new husband, who I was meeting for the first time, is comfortably living in my house and they're already turning one of my rooms into a nursery. I must admit that I got upset and had an argument with my niece. She had never discussed with me the possibility of extending her stay in my home, much less the fact that she wanted to live with her husband in my house. It wouldn't have been so upsetting to me if she hadn't altered one of the rooms already. My sister, her mom, is on her side and calling me selfish for asking them to move out, and she says that since she's the eldest, she has the right to say who can or cannot inhabit the house. I reminded her that I paid for my half of the place, but she's just not having it. This made me feel even angrier, so I just told my niece that she had 2 months to find a new place and it was my final decision. After I cooled down, I realized that I could have asked my niece to pay rent and called it a day, but I feel like she took advantage of my kindness and completely disrespected me and my house by sneaking her husband in and then changing a room in the house. She isn't even sorry. Her argument pretty much mirrors her mother's. Plus, since I'm not living in my own house, apparently it's so selfish of me to kick her out when no one is using the place. I'm astonished. Am I the jerk? Edit. Thank you for all your replies. I'm answering some questions. My niece and I had an agreement that she was living in my house just while she attended college, no more. She had to take an extra course and thus she graduated just a month ago or so. So it hasn't been long and I didn't want to kick her out as soon as she was done. She's family and I was okay with letting her stay a bit more. We didn't have anything in writing about our first deal other than a stupid WhatsApp convo because I trusted her and my sister. I thought I was being the good and nice aunt by letting her live rent-free already. I did move to another city, but it's not permanent. I intend to move back to my old place in a couple of years after I'm done with a project in my current city, so I need that house. The nursery is now where my studio was. They painted the room, changed the floor to a carpeted one, and moved my furniture out. My stuff is conveniently being occupied by my sister in her house now. In paper, I own my side of the house completely. Precisely to avoid issues, we have a contract that stipulates the size of the property that's completely mine and the part that belongs to just my sister. Finally, we don't live in the US. I hope this info is helpful to those who had some questions. Well, what do you think? Should OP kick her out or not? Please let us know. I would just charge them rent, but make it expensive. Moving him without even asking, and painting your office without asking was extremely rude. They need to pay for that. Inventory discrepancies caused department to tank. I was a perishable food buyer for a large grocery store chain that has now been bought out by Amazon. We did inventory monthly. A part of my job was to prep inventory counting sheets with all the barcodes for each and every product I purchased that was used in our deli. There were a handful of products that simply did not have UPC codes in our discrepant inventory system online. Out of maybe 1,000 products, I had come across maybe 7 or 8 of these items that mysteriously had no UPC codes to make a barcode with. I brought this up in an email with my team leader, making sure to CC both assistant team leaders and all of the other shift supervisors. Mainly, I just wanted to bring this up with the team leader and ask for guidance on how we should handle these products come inventory night. I did not receive a response from her or any of the assistant team leads. I should have prefaced this with the fact that our team leader especially, and both other assistant leads had a habit of sitting upstairs in their offices running the crew through emails. It was a miracle to ever see any of them downstairs, especially the team lead. She was incredibly lazy and very out of touch with the crew. I had my computer downstairs in the kitchen, and it was me and the chef who essentially kept the place running. Come inventory night, still no reply on the situation about the missing UPC codes. So I figured the most generic solution would be to scan the weight of the items under the hot bar UPC at $10.99 a pound. This made sense to me, or so it seemed. The next morning, after maybe 5 hours sleep, inventory runs until 12 to 1 a.m. sometimes, and I start my next shift at 5 a.m. I get called up to the store leader's office. I had an idea of what it was about, so I brought my notes with me about the 7 or 8 items that had no codes. I had them in hand. When I walked into the store leader's office, there sat my team leader and both her assistants. I was scared and very nervous. She puts on a terrific show of how I cannot be trusted to do my job on my own, and that I was reckless with my inventory counting methods and would need extra supervision when counting. She was very obviously covering her own butt. This set me off big time, because I am the reason inventory even goes as smoothly as it does. Nobody there even has a clue on how to prep the inventory sheets, let alone create the barcodes to make them easy to scan in so quickly. That barcode aspect was a luxury I should add, because otherwise every code is entered manually. On top of this all, I was extremely underpaid as well as extremely proficient at my job. I even came in one quarter at a whopping $0 over/underspent on my budget. This is almost humanly impossible. That means I brought in the maximum amount of profit with my budget without going over, not even by 1 penny. It was a glorious quarter. No one could understand how I pulled it off. Our department was also number 1 in the region for our low spoilage numbers, as I knew how to properly utilize other departments' cold food. We were killing it, and it was no joke because of myself, my assistant, and our chef. Anyways, team leader is raking me over the coals in front of the store lead. They even asked me if I was too prideful to ask for help. So I was like, hey, is this about the list of items? I showed them my paper with the exact items in question, which took the store leader by surprise. Then I brought up the email I had sent and had gotten no response to. The store lead had no idea about this email, and I could see his demeanor had changed. So after the meeting, I went downstairs and forwarded that email to the store leader and his assistant, making sure to add that if my team leader doesn't trust me to do my job, then we have a more pressing issue to discuss. I later received an apology from the store leader in person, seeing as he did not know all of the details and only what the team leader had said to him. Things got very awkward after that. I did not see or speak to my team leader in person for maybe over a week, and shortly after, she put in her resignation. Not long after, her assistant was promoted to team leader. This part is kind of unrelated, but I'll tell it anyway. The gal who got promoted was friends with another coworker's mother, so this certain coworker had inside knowledge. Apparently, one night the new team lead and that girl's mother were having beers and the coworker overheard some gossip. Apparently, the store lead had promised her the promotion if she would find any reason she could to fire the chef, and that interviews would merely be a formality. And she certainly did find a reason. In fact, one day I walked into our shift with the chef who had purchased a new stereo speaker for the kitchen with his own money. Funny enough, when we walked in together, him having the large speaker in hand, our store leader saw us and was vocally excited for the kitchen and thankful chef would even do such a thing. See, the old speaker had died and the purchase of a new one was deemed not important, so the cooks and stuff were working in silence for a long time. When chef eventually did get fired, that was the reason that was cited, that it was inappropriate for him to have gone behind the store's back to purchase the speaker. Anyways, to finish off the story, after chef got fired, my job became a nightmare. They didn't hire a new chef for ages and didn't think it was necessary or important to fill that role ASAP. It was his communication to me that even made my job possible. I could not write out prep lists as I had no idea how much of what they needed per day to prep. It was kind of nuanced. I was just the numbers man, and he really helped me out a lot. Eventually one morning, I put my 2 weeks notice in writing on my new team lead's desk. This caused a firestorm of chaos. See, my job allowed our department to take in millions of dollars a year, and I was doing great at it. Nobody in the store had any idea how to do my job, not even the grocery buyers. I dealt with perishables and a menu that changed every 2 weeks. I had gotten my systems down flawlessly. I had created all of the ordering sheets. I knew where to get each item from each different vendor, when the orders were due, when they had come in, all of the non-perishables like packaging and stuff, plus the local vendors for obscure items, since the store made such a huge deal about selling local. I'll tell you a secret, they don't care about buying local, they just know it sells great. Like I said, it was a panic. First, they offered me a healthy raise, to which I told the store leader no amount of money could keep me there. They asked why I was leaving, and I was totally honest. I told him I knew about the little backdoor deal he had with our new team leader and how chef got fired, even throwing in his face that I was there that day he brought the speaker in and how he was super excited for us about it. He assured me there was no such conspiracy and that our chef was essentially what he called a dissenter, that his attitude did not reflect the store's core values. It was all BS. They eventually begged me to make it a 4-week notice so that I could get a new guy as much time as possible to get trained up. We did the interviews, hired my replacement, and I got to training. That's when my assistant quit and I had to train a new buyer assistant as well. It got interesting because once the new guy officially got my job title, he then started treating me as unimportant. He was much older than me, so I wasn't going to fight him on it. In his pride of having his new title, his attitude changed and his behavior. He felt he could handle it, so I gave him the reins and let him go at it. By my last few days, he was uninterested in any training I could offer him, and because of his reluctance to listen to me, orders were either too big or too short. A few orders didn't get placed in time, things weren't getting put away right, stock rotation wasn't happening, so a lot of items were getting spoiled, etc. That's when I left. From my friends who work there still, I heard his attitude didn't take him very far and that he was replaced within a few months with a guy who had trained me. And last I heard, he only stayed maybe a month after inheriting that mess. That's about all I can tell you because that's about all I know. I don't really talk to anyone who works there anymore. Get your own dang spoon. So I used to work in a really big whiskey bar in my town that also catered for dinner and coffee/cake sort of things. I had worked there for a couple years, so I guess I was recognizable to a few people and maybe some that hadn't realized I had moved on. I was really good friends with all the staff in there, so I used to come in for a pint and a chat occasionally. The uniform in the whiskey bar is black shirt/tee and black bottoms, and being a bar person, I happen to wear an awful lot of black on a daily basis, even in my newer job, which is casual dress. So this one evening, I call in for a drink, and I'm sitting at the bar waiting for the bartender to finish serving this woman next to me. After about 10 seconds, I realize she's absolutely going out of her way to make life a living heck for the server. She's trying to pay for a bunch of stuff separately, but wants specific changes for each thing, for reasons unknown. And while the guy serving her is doing everything to accommodate her, she creates a new problem with every interaction. Complains that there's too much coins/not enough coins. The cream on the coffee doesn't look nice enough, etc., and gets quite rude and aggressive, sending her server running back and forth. A bit bizarre. The bartender is a chill guy and does his best to meet her requirements and offers the 2 Irish coffees she just ordered on the house by way of apology for not understanding her. She mutters something under her breath along the lines of, "Yeah, dang right," while outwardly expressing her impatience by huffing and tapping her phone loudly on the counter. The bartender serves the drinks and smiles, apologizing again. I'm sitting at the end of the bar near where the sugars, spoons, and milk for coffee is, in my black ensemble. The woman turns to me and just says, "Spoon," without looking at me. "Excuse me?" I reply, taken a bit back. "Give me a dang spoon," she says, right in my face. I looked her dead in the eye and I responded, "I don't work here." I ordered my beer and she went a marvelous shade of red and scuffled off back into whichever pit she had ascended from. She never got her dang spoon. Please come watch this video next, you will love it. And if you join as a channel member today, we'll give you a special shout out in our next video. And to have us make a special happy birthday video for you or a loved one, come visit us on Fiverr, link pinned in the comments below.